called to the stand a Escobar, otro indio encomendado a Solís. Y este Taino fue muy interesante because he didn't have just one interpreter. He had two. He is called un indio Navoría de Solís, y estando presentes los intérpretes Luis de Sanabria, criado de Francisco de Barraza, y Alonso Delgado, criado del bachiller Juan de Becerra. One of the reasons I could find for having two interpreters is that whatever language he spoke, it wasn't one of the main languages of the island. It could also be that he wasn't originally a Taino. He could have been someone that was brought from one of the other islands or even the mainland, because by this time there were expeditions going to Mexico, what today is Mexico y Guatemala. So whatever the setup was, he needed these two interpreters. But unfortunately, we don't have his full statement, because the statement that is in the current documents just says that he agrees with what he originally said. So his original statement is not available. We do know is that on the 27th of October, it seems like the judge went back and questioned everybody again. And I'm pretty sure that he was looking to see if the natives' statements were consistent, because he was having a hard time with the Spanish witnesses. The trial is delayed for whatever reason. It's not stated in the document. But on January 18th, 1510, the trial continues with the statement of Francisco de Burgos, el chocarrero. He is the jester in this trial, also known as a fool. His job was to make people laugh and kind of make things happier within the circumstances. He is a type of buffoon who would go from estate to estate haciendo chocarrerías, which is just foolish nonsense, again, to make people laugh. In exchange, he was giving food, clothing, a place to stay. At the moment that these events happened, he was living in la hacienda de la Esperanza with Solís. He was brought to testify before the judge and asked what he knew about what happened to Francisquito. This witness adds that the way that Francisquito was tied, he was tied with his hands up, but the actual rope was tied to el bohío. But that he wasn't sure of details. He doesn't know who hit him. He doesn't know how he died or when he died. But he did say that Francisquito was very skinny. But then he says, oh yeah, you know what? Solís did whip him a couple of times. And while he was whipping him, he would say, ajura higuerico, y el dicho indio le respondía diciendo, ajura señor. And then he was let go, he was untied, he was sent to the kitchen, and here he adds something different. He says that the native said that he needed to take some herbs. And it was after taking these herbs that el Taino began to complain, que el dicho indio comenzó a dar gritos, y este testigo, el chocarrero, se levantó y halló al indio en el suelo tendido, revolcándose, que estaba hipando, como si se le saliese el alma, diciendo que le dolía la barriga. Y este testigo y otros mozos le dieron a beber aceite porque echaba espumarajos, creyendo que sanaría y que luego aquella noche murió. He says that he saw when his body was taken out of the bohío, but he doesn't know where he was buried. And that's the end of his testimony. On the 2nd of May, 1510, Gonzalo de Villegas, Solís' best friend, decides to send his own statement to the judge. He uses the 5 original questions that were given to the other 2 witnesses, Juan Barra and Pero the Barbero. The question number 1, he says that he knew Francisco de Solís. In question number 2, we get a little bit more information about what happened to both GUAYABAX and Francisquito, because Villegas says that Francisco de Solís was actually living in his house for some reason, and that he was there when he had seen Solís order Gaspar to assault GUAYABAX, and that he was beaten while he was naked, but that the beating was templado, as always. In the second question, Villegas reveals that this exchange between different encomenderos switching and borrowing the natives who were quote unquote under their care was very extensive because he says that GUAYABAX not only worked with him but also with another encomendero called Juan Barba, who was one of the other witnesses for Solis, and that he also was using Antonico and another indigenous boy named Jorgico and otros dos que el dicho Solís se los dio para que trabajasen en su conuco hasta que hubiesen de regresar a las minas. Because remember, they were supposed to be resting. They weren't supposed to be worked like this. But the Spanish settlers didn't care. They wanted to live the high life. They wanted workers for everything. They themselves were supposed to be working, but they didn't do it. They were using the natives to work instead. It does say that Solis made him, Villegas, beat GUAYABAX for whatever reason. It doesn't state here in his statement, but he does say that GUAYABAX anduvo bueno y sano y trabajaba mejor que ninguno de los otros indios. So GUAYABAX was praised and valued by the Spanish settlers, but even so, he wasn't treated right. And that's why he repeatedly ran away. In his answer to the fourth question, Villegas gives us a glimpse into how diseases and ailments were treated by the indigenous people on the island. Because he says that GUAYABAX supposedly got ill at his house in Suconuco. He had fevers, and that every night, instead of staying at his house, he would go back to Solis's hacienda. And because he got so sick, Solis lo hizo sangrar a un Pero Sánchez, which was el barbero de Santiago, y le hizo curar y hacer todos los beneficios que pudo, y porque ensordeció. So he says that GUAYABAX lost his hearing because of the fevers and the sickness. De aquella dolencia le hizo venir a maestro Juan Cirujano. So he even got the local surgeon to come and take a look at GUAYABAX, que le curase. Él le hizo hacer unos embrazos de hierba. So it's kind of like paste of herbs. Hierba buena con ciertas cosas para ponerle en las sienes. So here. Que desde a 15 o 20 días que le dieron las dichas calenturas, murió de ellas. To the fifth question, Villegas has an interesting answer. Because he says that Francisquito, while being brought by Cristóbal Valdovinos from El Marián, de Casa de Carvanera, who was el cacique que está cerca de Puerto Real, that Francisquito se le echaba por el camino. In other words, he would fall to the ground y se revolcaba por el suelo y que echaba espumarajos que parecía que le tomaba el diablo. We see this phrase, tomaba el diablo, several times. And it's only now that it's clear that this tomaba el diablo didn't mean possession. It meant that he was, it seems like, having a epileptic attack. Y que un Francisco criado de Juan Gutiérrez de la Cava, que lo ayudó a levantar